Thank you for joining us again. Today we have another technique video coming at you. This time playing around with some lapel techniques from a closed guard when our opponent is kneeling. Now I apologize about the dubbing if it's out here if you're watching it. The audio wasn't so great on this video, so we've re-recorded over the top here. But I'll try and talk you through what we're doing despite the audio difficulties. So what we've got here is we've got closed guard, and we're talking about how we can use our opponent's lapel against them to offer extra grips, extra attacks, extra submissions. So here we're going to try and get the bottom of our opponent's lapel right down on the bottom corner and pass it off underneath their arm. Now sometimes your opponent's arms are going to be quite tight. So if that's the case, we want to lift our hips and then lower our hips quickly so that we can pass that lapel underneath their arm. Now you'll notice once we get it out, we're holding this grip with our thumb pointing out to the side. So kind of like you were hitchhiking. That's why we call it a hitchhiker grip. So we've got the low lapel held right out on the tip of the gi with our thumb pointing out to the side. And the reason that we're doing that is so that when we set up our choke in a moment, we're going to end up getting the blade of our arm onto our opponent's neck. So you can see we're taking our free hand here and we're going 4 fingers inside the collar, palm facing up, and we're using that nice deep collar grip plus our legs pulling in towards our chest to break our opponent's posture. So oftentimes your arm on its own or your legs on their own may not be enough, but if we can use our hand that's on the collar plus our knees, then we have a much better chance of breaking our opponent's posture. You can see here when our opponent goes to open up our guard, they shift their body weight forwards, and you'll see that it's much easier if we get the timing right to break someone's posture as opposed to trying to force the issue. If we can time it and we get it when they go to step, just like that, we should be able to use just our legs to break that posture down. So you can see here we're sitting, if we've got good posture and we've got our hands posting on our opponent, when we bring our knee in, we have to shift our weight forward, and it's at that moment that we're going to try and break down our posture. So we get the gi underneath the arm, very important there, get the gi under the arm, cross collar grip there, and then we bring our opponent in and we time it so that when they're trying to step or when they're trying to move, that's when we bring them in with our knees. Now using our cross lapel grip, we're now going to circle all the way over their head. So at the moment his head's on my left hand shoulder, I actually want to get his head across to the right side of my body as I pass my arm over. So you can see now my opponent's body and head are on the opposite side. Now striking that elbow down, thinking about getting your forearms together. And then we're using our bottom wrist in sort of like a casting action. So if anyone's ever gone fishing before, we're casting that sort of fishing rod. So we call deviation is the motion there. So we're deviating our wrist to the side, and that's going to push the bone on the blade of the forearm up into our opponent's throat. So we've broken their posture, we've got our cross grip. Now we're going to bring the arm over the head as we push their head to the other side of our body, because right now it's too far on that side, it's going to block. But when we push him across, it makes it easy to get our arm around over the head. Now we come back to center. So as we're coming back to center, that's going to place both of our forearms onto our opponent's throat. And then we're bringing them in, doing that casting action to apply the pressure to get to the neck. You don't want to try and open your elbows up to the roof, which is quite a common occurrence that you see. Very easy in that instance for your opponent to push down on the elbows and stuff the choke. So again, we pop the hips, we get the gi out underneath the arm, and then we switch our grip to this hitchhiker grip, thumb pointing out. Now we have our cross collar grip and we bring our opponent close to us using our legs and our arms. And now in one motion we push their head across our body as we swing our arm over the top. Come back to center, tighten our guard, and then using that forearm pressure, pulling down with the elbows to finish the choke. So one more time. We get our hitchhiker grip, cross the lapel grip, bring them in, pass the arm over, and then finish. All right, the second part of this technique now is an Ezekiel choke. So we're going to be able to do this move when we can't get our opponent's lapel underneath their arm. So if they've got a nice tight arm placement, it can sometimes be hard to get that lapel underneath. So rather than fighting for something, we're going to go with it, go with our opponent, and we're going to try and pass that lapel around. Now we have to do a little bit of a sit-up here, so we need to use our ab muscles to actually come up so that we can pass this lapel around the neck. You may need to open your guard at that point. You may be okay with the guard closed. You'll just have to figure that out for yourself. And so from that from that hitchhiker grip that we had originally, we're passing up and then we're placing our other hand around the back of the neck. So we're actually using that hitchhiker grip to come up and then hand the gi off. Now once we've done that, you can see we have this little window where we can now pass the blade of our forearm through the lapel itself, and we can get ourselves an Ezekiel choke, just like we would when we're using our own sleeve with a traditional Ezekiel choke. However, this time we're using the lapel. So hitchhiker grip, we sit up, we pass the grip around to the other hand behind the head, and now from here using that scissor type action with the arms, so we're pulling the gi around the back of the head and we're straightening the elbow of the hand that's on the throat so that we can push up and in. So we're getting those opposing forces now with the lapel. So again, we're trying to pass underneath. It's not working, so we hitchhiker grip over the top of the arm, then sit up, passing the lapel around the head. Once we've switched the grip, we feed our hand through the little window that we make with the lapel, and we can either grab our own sleeve at that point or make a fist, or we can use our knife hand and we can just push the blade up and into the throat. So we pass it around, we feed our hand through the window in onto the throat of our opponent, and now from here we're actually pushing them up and into the choke. So here we go, passing under the arm doesn't work, so we go up around the neck. Hitchhiker grip passes off to our opposite hand, and then we feed the lapel to get the window, which allows us to pass our hand through for our Ezekiel.